Ben Robert Smith VC, Australia's most decorated living soldier, murdered unarmed civilians while serving in the military in Afghanistan, a federal court judge has found. Sitting in Sydney, Justice Anthony Besanko found that on the balance of probabilities, Robert Smith kicked a handcuffed prisoner off a cliff in Darwan in 2012 before ordering a subordinate Australian soldier to shoot the injured man dead. And in 2009, Robert Smith ordered the killing of an elderly man found hiding in a tunnel in a bombed-out compound codenamed Whiskey 108, as well as murdering a disabled man with a prosthetic leg during the same mission, using a para-machine gun. The judgment, which came after a mammoth year-long defamation trial, is not a criminal finding of guilt, but a determination on the civil standard of the balance of probabilities. The former SAS corporal had taken out a loan, believed to be $2 million, from his employer, Channel 7 owner Kerry Stokes, to fund his defamation case. He appears now almost certain to lose his Victoria Cross medal that he surrendered as collateral. The judge found it proved that Robert Smith was a criminal who broke the moral and legal rules of military engagement over an incident at Shinartu in 2012, which resulted in the execution of an Afghan man who was being held prisoner. Robert Smith is Australia's most decorated living soldier and the recipient of the Victoria Cross for most conspicuous gallantry during the Battle of Tizik in 2010. He had enjoyed a stellar public reputation, lionized as the exemplar of Australia's ultimately unsuccessful mission to bring peace and prosperity to Afghanistan, held up as the modern embodiment of Australia's Anzac legend. The most famous soldier of his generation, Robert Smith was also named Father of the Year and served as chair of the government's Australia Day Council. But in 2018, The Age, the Sydney Morning Herald and the Canberra Times published a series of articles that alleged he engaged in war crimes, including murdering civilians and ordering subordinate soldiers under his command to kill civilians in so-called blooding incidents. The trial heard more than 100 days of evidence over more than a year, including extraordinary testimony of killing performed by Australian soldiers, and of a spiteful, factionalized SAS regiment, deeply riven by internecine fighting over decorations and medals and in thrall, on some evidence, to a warrior culture steeped in violence. Dramatically, 3 SAS soldiers accused of murder on separate missions refused in court to answer questions about what they did in Afghanistan, objecting on the grounds that any truthful answer they gave would be self-incriminatory. Each was permitted by Besanko not to answer. Nick McKenzie and Chris Masters, 2 of the journalists at the center of the trial, spoke outside court on Thursday. "Today is a day of justice," McKenzie said.